Saints fans, disappointing not to get the win, but boys, I can't lie, it's probably the best I've felt about a loss in a long time. So many positive things to talk about. We should have won that game, we didn't, but Alex Tauru, Max Hall, Hugo Garcia, so many standout performances from our young players. Before we get into it, Sammy will be back next week, but until then, we've got Ollie joining us. Ollie, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm good.
Debut.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I'm pumped to be here.
For sure.
Yeah.
Keen to get into it. Jakey, how you going?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. It's been a big day. Big news across the club, which we'll talk about later, but did the watch along yesterday with Woody, did it live. And for a lot of the game, especially that last quarter when Hugo kicked that early goal, kind of started believing a little bit that the upset would get done, but honourable loss, I guess. Some people hate it, but when you've got the youngsters doing what they're doing and a lot of upsides still to come, there's still a lot of positives to take from that, so I'm pretty happy.
Yeah. For me, I'm just like, at this point of the season, we're not making finals. The biggest win you can have is your young players standing up and playing well. Yeah, I know some people are like, and we're done with that crap. We just want to win. No more honourable losses. And I definitely understand that. But how can you not be excited watching Alex Tauru get 14 spoils and flying at the ball, getting marks? He made a few mistakes here and there, but I saw as well he didn't go on the bench from quarter time onward. He stayed on the ground the 100% of the time from there. So, boys, we can't start this pod without talking about him. Really. No. What did we think?
Well, first of all, the West Coast bloke, good on him. He got the rising star, but geez, I thought Tauru was a shoe-in.
I didn't see that.
Hall got it. Clay Hall, I think is his name. He was good. I watched that game, and he was good, but a lot of people thought that the Viking was gonna
he'll get one.
Was gonna get it, but
anyway,
yeah, that's a matter of time until he gets that. I think
at one point, I think might have been the third quarter. The stats came up on the screen, spoils, and it's got Tauru with 10.
Yeah.
Next is Caminiti on 3. That really puts into perspective how incredible his defensive work was throughout the game.
There was so many instances where I didn't think he would get to it. I think there was one in particular where he came from out of screen and got it because I thought it was going to be an easy chest mark, and like his closing speed I think is underrated. It's not just his leap and his timing of when to punch and then when to mark, but also his closing speed, which I think, if you put him down in the forward line, that's actually quite a threat as well if we can do that at some point.
Yeah, I know. It's just crazy to think like this is just game 2. With a lot of our youngsters, we've been forced to be patient, and that's just the reality of playing first, second, third year players. Like Toby Travalia hasn't really like broken out on the scene yet, but nor would you expect him to. It's his first year, but so to be getting this in game 2 from Tauru is just so exciting to watch. But we'll talk more about him as the show goes on, of course. But got to bring up Max Hall as well. That was his breakout game, best game he's played of AFL footy ever. Kicking goals, just gut running, clean disposals. What do you guys make of his game?
He's so damaging when he's got the ball. He's like, he gets it on the half forward flank and he doesn't necessarily try to go for goal. He picks out a kick that you don't even see. Yeah. And the fact that his scoring involvement to disposal ratio is so high shows that he's always looking for that option. And it's almost like you wouldn't want to compare him to Nasiah, but the way that Nasiah, distributes the ball out of defence is what Max Hall's trying to do going forward.
Yeah, he's he'd be top 5 in terms of our ball users this year, in terms of, I guess, disposal to then score involvement. Exceptional game, and he's been building all year. That's what I love about him. It's not out of the blue.
Yeah.
He's kind of done, he's had a lot of 6 or 7 out of 10 games. This was his 8.5, 9 out of 10 game, his best game of his career.
Yeah.
That running goal really capped it off for me.
Yeah,
when he got
huge.
it. He set it up at half forward, half back, mind you. We switched it. Owens cuts it into Naz, and then he handballs it to Hall, who kicks it from outside 50 when a lot of our players were missing, quite easy goals, like set shot goals. He's kicking it from 50 on the run, pretty gas. Super goal in a moment that we needed too.
Is he eligible for Rising Star or is he too old?
I was just about to ask that. I think he's 21, 22.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact criteria around that award.
I think he's too old, but when they announced Clay Hall, I wanted to comment and go, I think you got the wrong Hall there, but he's not eligible, but we've got a lot of players that are, like Hugo Garcia.
Yep, that's true. Oh, yeah, Hugo. He's done his work. People weren't happy with him playing in the 2s, but it's like this is sort of why you make a player earn their spot, work on their craft down there at Sandy, soon not to be, but yeah, he was fantastic. Just 6 centre clearances for me is what stood out the most because that's what we need. That's what we need from our midfielders that we haven't necessarily been getting. And he's a clean as well. He comes out of the stoppage, breaks free, breaks a tackle. his contest is great, and I love the way he flies the flag as well. It's one of my favourite things about his game. There was one point where, if you're watching on YouTube, he's got one Freo bloke here, one Freo bloke here in a fight. I'm just thinking, this is his second year, and he's doing this.
I chucked that up last night. I had to.
Yeah.
It's a weekly thing when he plays, isn't it? He's always in that sort of
fantastic.
fly the flag mode.
But yeah, his clearance work is phenomenal, and what we need, he'll be a mainstay in that midfield going forward if he keeps it up.
Yeah, and that midfield overall was... Got to give them their flowers. They did their work. I mean, we dominated clearances. We dominated every part of that game, really, apart from the scoreboard. I thought Steele was pretty good.
Yeah, I think more than that, it was neither of them were fantastic, but it was the best I've seen Steele and McRae work together.
Yeah, I mean, just the collective, even Clark going through there.
Yep.
He only played 55% game time again, but maximum impact when he went through there.
For sure.
The only downside was we didn't see Naz and Sinks through there as much, which would have capped it off, I think. We needed a little bit more class in the last quarter, but I mean, Marshall had his work cut out. Like, it's so weird seeing Jackson on Steele.
Yeah,
you know?
that
like,
was
interesting
because they've got the big ruck.
Yeah, and they played Jackson at the bounce.
Then the second ruck playing midfield. Like, he's an absolute unicorn.
Yeah, he's... Don't say unicorn. Fox Footy pumped that up. Mate, pre-game, they did a pre-game for every game.
Yep.
Jackson. Now I'm like, well, he's going to... And, of course, he kicked the sealer. Like, it's just scripted that way. But I want to give these flowers to Rowan Marshall.
Yep.
We've got a nice little gift here from Flinders Street Co. I'll actually do an unboxing. This is... You want to explain what you get from this?
Oh, it's a little air freshener by the looks of it.
By the
but
looks,
it reeks of strawberry. Like, really strong.
It's a good smell. I'll give them that. It's quite strong. This is what they do, which is incredible if you can see it on camera. And there's that to go with it. Rowe had a good game yesterday, mate, and I thought this was a good segue to
give us a
promote Flinders Street Co. We've got it
really strong.
We might get it lit up next week, but if Rowe has a big game, we'll get more of them and we'll scatter the room. We'll do a ritual.
Oh, for sure. It's maybe with his future, in the balance, it's a bit spooky almost.
Him and Nazai to
If I mean, does Rowe look like a strawberry type sort of like smell?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
he doesn't. He's not really giving me a strawberry smell kind of vibe.
Like if you were doing air fresheners and you had a Jack Higgins one,
what would that smell like? Like sausages?
That's what I was going to say.
Like an Aussie barbecue.
Yeah,
that'd be nice. But yeah, good products there, and they sent these in to spruce up the background. So thanks very much, guys, for doing that.
Absolutely. Onto the game itself. We've spoken about the individual performances that were really pleasing. Sorry, Rich, I felt like Alan Richardson for a second. That was pleasing. But the actual game itself, just to look at it, it's disappointing because that game was there to be won.
It did, yeah.
And honestly, you said you were getting a sniff of us winning. I was getting much more than a sniff. I thought we were well and truly. I was getting like the smell I'm getting from that air freshener. Like it was a strong smell that we would.
A bit dizzy.
Yeah, it's ramble. Anyway, what do you guys think? Because I thought we should have won that game.
I started the last quarter. I kind of thought what I thought at the end, which was I was worried that those misses in the second and third quarter in particular were going to cost us. But when Higo kicked that goal, I thought that was, when you're so used to something going against you, but then suddenly you get this sense that it's not, and you're like when you start beating Geelong, for instance, it's like it's bucking the trend a little bit. It's not supposed to happen, but it's happening.
Yeah.
When Higo kicked that goal, I thought, we're actually going to do this. Whereas before that goal, I thought, this is going to be an honourable loss. Yep. But he kicked it, and then we had the honourable loss, which was disappointing.
Yeah, I felt like it was one of those ones where the young players really stood up like we wanted them to, but they just ran out of legs. Like, it felt like we had a lot of momentum in the last few minutes, and then we kind of just lost it for no reason. We didn't convert. We hit the post 4 times during the game. Just one of those ones that seemed destined to fall away.
Yeah.
Hitting the post 4, it almost felt like every time we had a set shot, we were just hitting the post. I know they did a few times, but God, Mason Wood, I think was at halftime, had a shot, hit it. He looked so frustrated, and fair enough so.
They'd usually bury it. Sharman kicked a point, Wood kicked 2 points.
Even Butler running into the goal square open, like dropping those chest marks. Yeah, that was certainly not ideal.
Yeah, so we should have had a bigger lead going into the last quarter, and I think that was the difference in the end. We didn't put them away, and the crowd got them up and about. They went big in the forward line, and Tracy came to life. We handled their big so well for most of the game until the last 10 minutes.
Yeah. And
similar to Collingwood, really. They just got hold of us.
I think you got to acknowledge, like, they have a pretty insanely talented list, most likely going to play finals this year. But I thought from a coaching standpoint, and it's getting talking about a lot today, which I'm glad to see. It feels like Ross has outcoached Justin Longmire for the second time this year. We weren't able to come away with the win, so people aren't going to rag on about it too much. But truthfully, like I think this proves to us, Ross Lyon, Corey Enright, Robert Harvey, there's something building there as this list develops and there's a bit more for them to play with. We're going to be looking at something.
Well, that's a good point you make, is like we forget that his hands have been tied in a way with some of these injuries and waiting for some of these youngsters to be ready. And now they're starting to get to that point where they've put in the work at VFL level. We're getting senior players probably playing better football than they have for the most part of the year. Like Rose playing better football. I think Steele's building. Sinks has been good. Wilkie obviously just doing what he does. But then that's an environment where you can play Tauru for 95% of the game. Travalia plays a full game.
Yep.
Next week it could be Dodson, who was exceptional at VFL level.
Yep.
And that might support having
Heath.
2 rucks. Heath was great. Who else is there? Boxshaw.
Yep.
And on the flip side, you've got Henry, who hasn't lit the world on fire at VFL level, but he came in and, he's just clean. And his goal was class, and that's what you have him in the team for.
Yeah, I think me and you have just talked about this all year long. We don't know everything that's going on behind the scenes with Liam Henry, but it just feels like just put him in up to AFL level and he will perform. He just, I don't know if it's fair to say like he's just not a VFL player, but I just feel like that's the way it is, And we saw it. I thought he had a good game considering that's his first full game of AFL for more than a year. So
did the old
I
Didn't work in the end.
Got the fans up and about and angry, but
I like that he's showing
that.
some character. That's good. But yeah, he was good, and I think with someone like him that's had a ravaged injury history, just get some continuity under his belt, play him the last 8 games of the year, and then next year hopefully he can hit the ground running.
Yeah, it shows that you don't have to really set the world on fire at VFL level to still be a solid AFL player. Like he might just not fit in with the Sandy system as much as he does at senior level.
Yeah.
And maybe this time next year, if he is playing VFL, he's playing for the Saints VFL.
Well, exactly.
And maybe he's playing an entirely different role that is... And he'll shine in a weird way, and that's the whole reason why we've probably gone standalone, is to obviously have more autonomy and more control.
Yeah.
Which was the news today, but we can develop players our own way now, which is awesome.
Yeah. While we're talking about it, we've spoken about it on the pod a few times this year, but certainly great news. And that is at the end of the day exactly what it's about. We need control over our younger players' development because we've got so many of them coming through, and you want players learning the game style from VFL level, and then, like you said in your video today, that can immediately translate when they come into the AFL side. So it's a good move. Yeah, it's tough. Obviously, it would have been nice to keep the affiliation with Sandy. That's been long-standing and been good for us, but time to move on. And do you have any thoughts on it, Ollie?
Yeah, I think I'd echo what you guys are saying in that it makes so much more sense to have the guys we want to see improve and, really up their game to, make a crack at the senior side, play in their natural positions week on week on week, rather than having to throw them around in a couple of different spots to accommodate all the other players that Sandy are fielding. So it makes the most sense. There's only 2 other teams left, I think, that haven't. So it's a good step towards, not only for us, but the AFL reserves. Just make it 2 competitions, and it works well for St Kilda in the meantime.
100%. Yeah. And like you said, the priority is development. We've not been good at it for so long. We say that we've drafted duds and this and that. It's a strong word, but that's what people say.
Yeah.
But how much does it then come down to the environment the club has built? The development program that's never really been in place. You look at 09-10, we probably didn't have anything like that in place really because we were contending. So you kind of just focus on put all your eggs in that basket to win a flag.
Yeah.
Whereas now, that is our focus. It's our number one focus, and that will hopefully then, get us into that period of sustained success again.
It's all hindsight too. People say this pick was bad, but we don't know that until the outcome actually happens.
Correct.
So it's hard to predict that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
exactly. And you mentioned this in the video today, and it's so true. This is a long-term decision. We're not just making decisions that are going to help us for the next 2 seasons. This is going to help us for the next 20 seasons.
Correct.
And that's what this decision is more about, to have, when we do eventually get some success, to actually make sure we can sustain that. Because we envy the clubs like Geelong, even though they went down to the bottom for a bit. Hawthorn, they were successful. They went redeveloped. Now they're back. We've been mediocre for 15 years, and it's little moves like this that just put all the right pieces in the right places. And so
you think about it, like during the week, Dodson would train with the AFL team, right? But then on the weekend, he's playing probably a completely different role. I mean, he's playing a ruck, but he's probably being taught to do different things on game day. Whereas next year, if he's not in the AFL team, he's training all week, RSCA like he is, and then on the weekend he's doing things that maybe Ross during the week has said, this is the plan, this is what we want you to do. Do 2 weeks, these are your targets, and then by round 5 you're going to play. Like imagine having that plan laid out in front of every single under 21 in the team. I think that entices youngsters to want to play for St Kilda too. Having especially the facilities that we've got, and knowing we can play games at RSCA, hopefully, which would be unreal.
They're able to set targets as well.
Yeah.
It's a little bit easier to, have, like you say, a plan, and to be able to have goals that are set, and you can really try and achieve those, whereas the continuity from going to Sandy every week is just not there.
And some of the best teams, Brisbane have got, look at the recent premiers. Look at Richmond. Richmond's VFL team was dominating and playing the exact same way the Tigers were playing when they won 3 flags out of 4. And they won the flag the same year.
Yeah.
That's how good they were. Yeah. Brisbane's VFL team has been unreal.
Gold Coast as well.
Gold Coast has been good. Giants were good when they've been making prelims. Collingwood's, it's linked.
Yeah, it's a great point to bring up for sure. And I think we tried this year to sort of keep the affiliation. Like we put Brendan Goddard as the VFL coach, but I think that it's good that they did that, so then they could really see, okay, no, we're just going to need to take full control of this. And the decision's been made, so it's probably a good one. Let's hope it works out for us.
100%.
Back to the game for a sec. I got to shout out Anthony Caminiti. I've never been more convinced that he is going to be in that back line for the next 10 years as a mainstay. I think we've developed him really well, because he's one that's, through injuries and some good form of, he's been able to hold that spot. So Ross has been able to just develop him for 3 years, because as soon as he came into the club was when Ross came in. So he's like a Ross Lyon player through and through. And I think long term we should definitely be investing with him. Him and Wilkie, I like that pairing. And I hate to say it, but him playing that role so well is probably opening the door for Dougal Howard to probably leave. That just seems like inevitable at this stage. But with Hammer playing that role so proficiently, I'm a bit more comfortable with that decision.
It probably depends on the free agency period, and if Lika Lear is still on the table. I mean, if he comes in, and then you've got Tauru that can play both ends, Caminiti there, Wilkie there, Ari, Sean Maker, if we persist and try and develop him in that capacity, you probably got 4 or 5 tools there. You do need depth. If Dukes,
I would like to keep Dukes. It's
stay
just
on a year
the signs are pointing elsewhere,
and be on modest salary, and he knows he's going to be playing portion of his season at VFL level and then at AFL level. Maybe then sometimes the good teams have leaders that will just cop that and go, look, I know I'm not going to play more than 8 to 10 games. Like Zach Jones, he probably knew going into this year he's not going to play every week, but he's doing it anyway, and he's still putting up good numbers
as well.
And he earned a contract. So some senior players might just have to have that in the back of their mind at the end of the year, that I can still play, and maybe like a Mason, be a teacher in a way, on the field and off the field.
I'm still not sold on Caminiti though.
Really?
In the air, I really like him, because, we saw that with his forward play in the last couple of years. I just get itchy when he has the ball in his hand. Itchy, I don't know. I couldn't think of the right word. I get shudders.
You get it there's a rash that comes.
Yeah.
Allergic reaction.
I feel like he rushes. He gets really flustered with ball in hand, and there's been a few instances this year where he's just handballed it to no one, or he's shanked a kick when I feel like he really needs to compose himself and take a bit more time.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I mean, we forget. I genuinely think people forget he's 21. He is 21. He looks
50 games.
Exactly. I think we forget that because we got him. We didn't get him through the draft. He was delisted, right, from Carlton.
He was never picked up by them. It was SSP.
VFL.
He was training,
I think.
Yeah,
correct. So his journey's been unorthodox in a way. We haven't really. Yeah, we didn't get him when he was 18 and develop him. If we drafted him 4 years ago and this is what his output is, maybe then I would agree. But because he's been playing forward, we've given him a chance. I think, and the fact that we lost Battle and I don't think there's been a week in the last month where we've said, damn, we've copped it. You know, we got Tauru because of that compensation pick. Yeah, I think. Didn't we?
I think.
Yeah. So have a look at that. Well, Travalia was pick 8.
Yeah.
And then
it's just
and
all
then 10 was Tauru.
Yeah, it's all the.
Then we bid on Lombard
the
and
bids
then
and stuff.
Yeah.
That pushes it back.
But Tauru was the second pick for us, and that's obviously the Battle compensation.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sure. I loved with Hammer. Like, for me, it was like the first few games he played, he looked great, and then we didn't really see much improvement for about a year. But these last 2-3 months, the improvement has been really obvious. Yeah. And there was just like, I think maybe 2 minutes to go, the ball's in the back line, it comes to ground, and he just like pushes it forward, runs, gets the ground ball, and takes the game on. And we got it into our forward line from him starting that at half-back, which is what you'd expect from like Sinks or Naz, but he was doing it, which I loved. Also, like, even just showing leadership in little moments, just having words with players, helping Tauru out in his second game. I was just really impressed with him. I thought his game went under the radar a little bit.
What game was it where Hammer tapped it and basically ran it out of the 50 for 60 metres? It was a couple of weeks ago. Was that Carlton at the G? Do you remember that game? No, he got it in the back pocket and he ended up outside the 50 and he just kept tapping it and pushing blokes out the way.
I do.
What week it was.
Love that aggression about him. So, it's not the first time he's done it.
He shows signs. He shows really good signs. I think it's just about developing him for, an extended period of time in that position to really, lock him in.
Yeah, he'll love having the Viking down there now to
absolutely
chop out and fly in and punch the ball out of bounds.
He can do a bit more body work rather than having to fly for everything. We can have an interceptor.
Yeah, it's almost like be the almost decoy defender and then wait for that third man up and then you get the boundary throw in.
Yeah, for sure. To just tie a bow on our recap of the game, I'd say it felt entirely like that round 7-8 clash where we demolished them, but except we just did not capitalise. The goals that went through for us in round 8 or whatever were hitting the post, and then we kept them in it. Last quarter, they're desperate, playing for a final spot, ran over us, but nonetheless, pretty great effort for the first 3 quarters.
Well, Dwayne Russell listed Freo as the second best win of the round, and people were like, really? They were favourites?
I mean,
to be fair, he had Adelaide at 3rd or 4th, and Adelaide played Richmond. How is that one of the best?
I mean, I'd say they did well to hang in there, and then capitalised in the last quarter, ran away with it, but they were pretty bad for 3 quarters.
Bulldogs were 1. Yeah. Bulldogs were 1 because they beat Sydney away, which was a good win.
Yeah.
I thought Port's win against Carlton was probably more impressive too because they
dismantled them.
A rebounding Carlton could have coughed that up and smashed them.
Yeah,
and we all love that. So
yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Let's get to Mosh Man of the Match. Who is it this week, Jake?
We talked about him already. So Maxi Hall, sensational game. 21 disposals. I think he had over 400 metres gained. Kicked a goal. Set up a couple as well. 6 tackles, 6 marks, if I remember correctly, off the top of my head. I mean,
yes.
Yeah, there you go.
2 marks, 6 tackles.
Yeah, great game. He was my man of the match watching the game. Was he yours, Ollie?
No.
No, okay. Well, great pump up.
I didn't want to just, echo everything. So
yeah, that's fair.
I thought I'd give Hugo Garcia a big pump up because I think it takes a lot to be sent back to the VFL and then get recalled and have almost the exact same output. So 24 touches, 10 clearances, I think, for the game is almost identical to the stats he was putting up in the VFL. So I think it shows he's got great, mental fortitude to be able to, work on his game and be confident enough in himself to come back to AFL level and have such a great impact on a close game, really.
It was weird seeing, I think he only laid the 1 tackle, which was weird to see because in the VFL level, that's probably the main stat that jumps out off the sheet is he's always having 10 to 15.
Yep.
But maybe that's a good sign the rest of the mids were doing the work and he could actually get on the outside and attack a bit more, which, the VFL level, he probably doesn't have that luxury of doing.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say, Max Hall for me, certainly. Tauru up there. But yeah, Rowan Marshall, got to highlight his game as well.
We didn't even talk about
the
karate kick out of the contest.
Goal of the year, surely.
It's been coming for weeks. He keeps trying to do it around the ground. So it was only a matter of time before he did it in front of the stick.
Yeah, that's the time where you grab it out of the ruck and you try and do something. Yeah. And I think it was Brayshaw that just, in slow-mo, just watched it go over his head. And
he's like, oh no.
What the hell? Yeah. He just walked off.
It reminded me of Tim Membry in 2020 against Port where he scissor kicked.
Yeah. Get it out of your head.
I can't go a week without talking about the great man.
It was more like, it was actually like Tim Membry's. Yeah. Daniel Wells, I think at the same ground, or at least in Perth.
Yeah, he did the karate
Grabbed
kick.
it and just, that was a great goal.
Yeah, but no, Marshall had a fantastic game.
Yeah.
He kind of got obliterated with the hitouts, but he just plays as a midfielder, and that, like, whatever happens with his future, like, he's been such a good player for us, and a bit inconsistent this year, but very good on the weekend.
Still want to see him play forward at least one game.
Same, yeah. I mean, I tried to manifest it on the predicted video, which wasn't to be. Yeah. But, I mean, in hindsight, I'm like...
Well, they had Boyd in the extended bench, didn't they?
Yeah, Harry Boyd, Max Heath, Dodson, one of them. I feel like that was the perfect game to do it.
I reckon Dodson's getting a look in this week.
Potentially, yeah. Great. Is that the end of Mosh? It is.
Yes.
If you're dealing with hair loss, Mosh is here to help with clinically proven treatments starting at just $24 a month. You can regrow your hair 100% online, no clinics needed. Plus, you'll get discreet delivery and unlimited support. Use code SAINTSTV50 for $50 off your first treatment plan. Join over 60,000 Aussies already seeing results. Visit getmosh.com.au to get started. Time for Jake's Junk Mail.
Let's do it.
Jake is Junk Mail. Jake is Junk Mail. Jake is Junk Mail. Jake is Junk Mail.
Let's get stuck into it.
Yes, let's do it. This one is from Sam or Sam. We'll go with Sam. He's asking, should we have drafted a pure mid like Murphy Reid over Trav or Tauru? One of the biggest criticisms of Reid was his speed, but he was always one of the best ball users in that stacked draft. We lack skill in the middle, and he addresses that. Love Trav, but him and Wilson play a lot of unsureness about them. I mean, Trav, you can't judge.
It's just so early.
He's been subbed too many times. He only got his full game yesterday, really, and 12 disposals. I don't think he was bad at all. I think he'll be better for it.
If you just look at the way he's built, he was never going to be ready to go this year. Like,
not in the middle.
He's got a few pre-seasons to do. And I'll say one thing with him that is a small red flag is, and I think this is just because he's a first-year player, but he just is completely risk averse. He does not want to take any risks with the ball in hand. The two types of kicks he does is a 15-meter sideways kick or bombing it down the line. And I know he's a good ball user, so it's like, I understand maybe he's lacking a bit of confidence, but I'd love to see, a senior player, someone just go up to him and say, mate, take that kick on. If you see it, go for it.
I think in a weird way, it's like for like with Tauru. He won't be spoiling 15 times a week in a year. He'll be taking 10 marks and punching it 5 times. So I think that's in a weird way the equivalent.
For sure.
Trav will start going for those kicks when he has confidence and when he builds into his career, and Tauru will start taking those marks. So, I think it just comes with experience and just playing the percentages, especially away from home in a tight game.
Yeah.
He probably thought, well, I'm not going to try and... That's Naz, let's just let Naz do that.
And at the end of the day, they're first-year players. You can't judge them too hard on, what we've seen from like 8 or 9 games from Trav and obviously 2 from Tauru. Like, they'll work into their roles, they'll find their place in the team, and they'll improve in so many facets of the game that, it's impossible to judge right now.
Yeah, 100%. This one's from Raf. What are we supposed to do when our senior players just simply aren't good enough? I mean, I'm hoping by that point it'll almost be, you wouldn't even notice the change because the youngsters will be picking up the slack. Yep. I guess that's the plan, right? They decrease, but the youth increases. So it just kind of balances out in a way.
Bit of a handover. Yeah. Almost. Yeah. I think that's the positive of playing, Garcia, Boxall, those sort of guys through the midfield the second half of this year means when, Steele starts dropping off, people argue he's already doing that. So when it's time to hand it over, they can take the reins.
Yeah. Is that question like referencing? Did we think there was a senior player that didn't play well on the weekend?
No. I think that's just a hypothetical, I suppose.
Right.
But I haven't really pictured a huge. We've kind of managed the players that haven't performed. They're playing VFL or they didn't play on the weekend for another reason.
Yeah.
It's not something that has occurred to me really. It's not a.
Yeah. I think for the most part, the selection integrity has been pretty solid.
Our average age on the weekend was 23.
Yeah.
So, Dante's asking, do we still need to chase TDK if we have assets like Dodson, Heath, Marshall, Keeler and Boyd?
Yes.
I mean, how many of them are proven? Dodson's not, Heath's not. Keeler is probably going to play more forward than anything. And Boyd, unproven again, and he's played a couple of games.
to reject TDK to play Dodson, Heath, and what are we talking about? Of course we're getting TDK. Like, I'm sorry, those guys are, as you say, completely unproven, and people forget we are getting TDK for nothing. We don't have to trade anything for him. That contract is going to be so front-ended. By the end of it, he's not going to be getting much. The books will be open. People just don't understand that. They just hear 1.7 million. Why would we do that? It's like there's a lot more going on than just we're paying him a lot of money.
Yeah, and if you offer the alternative and go, look, what if it was 1.2, but we had to give up our first-round pick?
Well,
you'd want to pay the 1.7.
Yeah, exactly.
And no pick.
We're giving up nothing.
And it's taking him away from Carlton. Yeah. we need to help him. I'm calling out to you.
We've been crying out for a superstar for how many years now? Like, we can't pass up the opportunity when we finally...
Well, he's a ruck. He can't be a superstar.
But Harry Boyd...
I mean,
does Luke Jackson not look like a superstar yesterday?
I think he
pretty
could
good, didn't he?
win a Brownlow if he played all year in the ruck, to be honest.
Yeah.
So he's exactly what we're crying out for.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer for me. Hopefully we can get that over the line. When is Max? Speaking of rucks, Charlie's asking, when is Max Heath going to get a game? It's got to happen before the year, surely.
I don't know. Well, he's out of contract. Look. He may be out of favour just because we have a lot of second rucks there. Boyd, like Dodson will keep his spot on the list. Yep. I think maybe either him or Boyd won't. Potentially both of them get cut. But yeah, it'd kind of suck if he got delisted without having played an AFL game.
Yeah. You'd have to be careful if you delist them and then you're still looking to maybe trade Rowe.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose too much height in this team.
No. Yeah.
Especially because we can't guarantee Mark King will be ready for round one. We want him to be ready, but I just don't want to have another year where we are undersized every single week. Yesterday, Freo was so much taller than us.
Yep.
I know they're probably taller than most teams, but how many games do we go into and we look like the bigger team?
Probably once.
And that's what? Richmond? Maybe?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
So it'd be good to just maintain some size and build on what we've got instead of losing to gain.
I want to see him play a game. Let's just see what he's got.
This one's from LJT 1982. Is Dan Butler in our best 23? He says no.
I would almost agree now. I think Lance Collard's strung a couple of good performances in the twos, so why not just bring him in for the rest of the year? We're doing it with the rest of our guys. Why don't we just give him an extended run when he's been putting up similar numbers to what Butler has been? Aside from the Melbourne game, I think he got subbed out with a goal and maybe under 6 touches or something similar this weekend. That's pretty much similar to what Collard was doing, and people were saying he should get dropped. So I don't see why we...
I'd say this, though. At his best, absolutely, he's in the best 22, but his performances are just inconsistent. Like right now, maybe not, but if you strip everything away and you just put the best 22 Saints players in there, he's 100% in there.
Yeah. We'll go with Harry before we move to the voicemails. Who gets dropped for Hill and Webster next week? Hopefully Ross keeps the same team.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say, all the people trying to troll Brad Hill in the comments of the Saints Instagram, like, that's just not cool. He's a player for us. Like, let's support him.
Yeah, well, you never want to see a player and his missus responding to comments. Yeah. Like, legit.
Well, it's just, it sucks that they're in a position that they feel like they have to do that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, but back to the conversation. Do they come back into the side? That's going to be the conversation all week.
I think the performance was good enough that it's a Jack Carroll out, Boxall in type situation, or it's an unchanged lineup. I would love for 1 week to just go with the same team. There's no injuries. They all did their job. We were competitive. Back under the roof, unchanged. That'd be nice.
Especially with Soccer playing Webster's role really well.
Yeah.
I think he took Bolton for most of the game and he didn't have a huge impact.
Nah.
And that's who Jimmy Webster would have played on, I would have thought. So, I don't see a reason for them to be rushed back.
Unless it's a Dodson debut and you take out a short. Like, that's the only thing I'll accept.
Yeah.
Another debut would be nice.
If there's no changes, though, what am I going to talk about in my predicted video?
It's your prediction, mate. Yeah. You can say whatever you want. It's going to be
a short video.
Ari could come in. I think he played half forward on the weekend, didn't he?
In midfield.
And he kicked 3. So, dare I say, could we get Ari at half forward and kicking bombs from 70?
I think 1 or 2 changes. There's just so many high-performing players at VFL that you'd want to be giving at least 1 or 2 of them a go.
Yep. All right, let's move to the voicemails now.
Oh, let's go. I'm so hyped.
Ollie, get pumped for these, mate.
Yeah.
I haven't vetted all of them, so let's Good thing is the show's not live, so
Yeah.
can edit these out if we need to. We'll go with Zen. Zen.
What up, Saints TV? Love the pod. It's great. I don't understand why we aren't targeting Ben King, because if we get him, of course, what will it do with Max? Because we could play Max further up the ground and still have a reliable overhead mark. And it also relieves the pressure on Owens, who won't have to play the third, second pole. And Sharman can be as inconsistent as he
Feed
can.
the dog, mate.
Yeah, your dog needs to go to the
He's
toilet.
hungry or something.
We could have possibly a dual twins and kick $70 between them. But who knows? Hopefully with that we can be a lot more consistent. But yeah, just a thought. And heard some news that Corey Enright might be the new coach or a succession plan. What's your opinions on that? But yeah, go Saints.
All right.
The dog said "Go Saints" at the end.
Yeah,
I
that's good.
swear that's what it said.
Yeah, I
but,
think your dog needs to go out for a walk or something.
Yeah.
But well, first of all, Ben King, we don't know who the club is or isn't targeting. They may be targeting him. We don't know. I just looked up. He's set to become a free agent at the end of next year. So you wouldn't be trading for him this year anyways. I think, next year, like we talked about it last week, he is one of few players in the AFL that you can sell St Kilda to. Come back home, come play with your brother. I would be putting everything into securing him. Imagine we get Ben King as a free agent.
It'll
next
be
year.
a situation where we're going to look at who's available, and there's a Ben King, there's a Harley Reid, there's these types.
Yeah.
So we're going to just have to deliver on field next year. There'll be a little bit more expectation. And I think that's why I keep saying getting a TDK, getting maybe not a Bergman now. I think there's rumours he will sign for a couple of years. But getting some free agents through the door and then seeing the uplift in youth, that's enticing to some of these players.
Yeah.
That's why they want to come to Moorabbin.
Max King, centre half forward, Ben King, full forward.
Don't do it. It just hurts.
I remember
about it.
2020, 21 of the podcast was just every week. It's like, imagine if we had Ben King and
Yeah.
Max King. But yeah, no, we should be throwing absolutely everything at him. And the Corey Enright thing, to be honest, that was the biggest non-story of the week to me, because it's like, if anyone that pays any attention to St Kilda knows that that's what's going to happen. Of course, that's, just look at, they've promoted Corey to senior assistant or whatever that means. So he's clearly, the Ross Lyon prodigy, I guess. Whenever he moves on.
Just got to make sure no one sacks a coach in the meantime, because they will be looking at him.
For sure.
This is from Jezza.
How's it going, Saints TV, Jakey? Yeah, stiff going today, but look, young team, and all I'm about to say is the Flying Viking, stuff TDK, sign that man for 15 years. That bloke is going to be the next best thing at our footy club. Love you, Jakey, love the work.
Thanks, Jezza. I mean, why not have both?
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say.
Have another tall blonde flying around.
I feel like, I know that guy was sort of joking, but it does feel like people think if we get TDK, we kind of nothing else. It's like, that's not what's happening. I just feel like there's so much miscommunication about what's actually happening.
Do you know what?
TDK.
Wait until we sign Naz. It will happen, all right?
Yeah.
It will.
It will happen. I'm calling it. Wait until we sign Naz, and then no one will care what we pay TDK.
Yeah.
Because everyone's logic is it's one or the other.
Yeah.
And all year I've been saying
It's both.
they're not linked.
Yeah.
We can get both and more. So, I mean, we offered Matt Rowell $2 million a year.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I mean, I can confirm. No, I'm not going to go.
You just gave me a look like I shouldn't have said that.
I'm not saying that, but I'm pretty confident that we actually were looking at him.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, let's go to Daryl.
G'day, boys. The last 2 weeks has confirmed that we must play the kids. The effort's been good. We've been competitive. It's been exciting to watch. And we just must play these young blokes. So we must get Heath in. We must get Boskshall in. There is really no point in us playing Hill and Butler and Webster. No offence to these guys, but they're the past. The effort from the young guys has been magnificent, and we must support them and we must play them. Thank you, boys.
Spot on.
I like that.
Yep.
I think it's okay. Yeah, it's you want to win games of footy, but obviously for the long term, this is what's right. But more than that, like Daryl said, it's just exciting. Like where the season's done for us, but I'm still excited to watch us every week and just wait until Philippou comes back next year. King. Getting all those young players in, like it's just exciting to watch, and I wouldn't be surprised. I know we're playing Hawthorn, but this week if we see an uptick in Saints fans coming to the game, because it's Saturday night, come watch the Flying Viking.
100%.
I was gonna say, I think Tauru does that pretty well. I think he puts
he's a
bums
selling
on
point,
seats.
isn't he?
Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Great point there, Daryl.
Yep.
This is from Hugh. If it wants to load. It's an hour. It's not an hour. It's a minute 29. So
Long pod this week.
yeah, come on, Daryl, mate. Where are you? It's thinking. Let me.
We're getting there.
Let me refresh and see if we can get. Let's go. Let's see.
G'day guys. Long time listener, first time voice messenger. I just wanted to put it out there that Max Hall was best on ground by so far tonight. Like, he's playing half-forward flank, hardest position on the field to play. He had 21 touches, a goal, should have had 2. Had, 6, 7, however many tackles he had. Anyway, he was listed as the 6th best for the Saints. But I also wanted to say, I'm just predicting the comments being about not Hilfer. He's out. Thank God, because otherwise he's going to cover 2. But Steele, Rowan Marshall being one paced, Steele killed it tonight. We dominated a midfield that is supposed to be one of the best midfields on paper in the comp. We absolutely destroyed them for 3 quarters, 3.5 quarters. They had a 5-minute patch in the last quarter that killed the game off. Just give it a rest in the comments, St Kilda supporters.
Agreed.
Maybe most supporters do, but you just read so much rubbish. Just give it a rest for a week. Everybody played extremely well, and we should just appreciate that. That's all.
Yeah. Who sent that voice message?
That was Hugh. Good on you, mate.
Shout out to Hugh.
I do agree. The last 2 weeks, at least, because I see a lot of these comments, obviously.
A lot of the
channel.
rubbish, as he says.
Even the DMs. And the last 2 weeks, even, doing the review last week, a lot of people hit me up saying I was being too nice after a good performance against the Pies. And then this week, a similar thing in the comments. But we didn't win. It's you probably didn't even watch the game then, mate.
But just have some awareness of where we're at and who we're playing.
Yeah, perspective, isn't it?
It comes down to there's a lot of Saints fans who just have been starved of success for so long
so
that when
just
it's not going our way, they just
out.
immediately first to criticise.
Yeah,
and I can get that, but he's absolutely right about Max Hall, and people have been ripping Jack Steele to shreds this year, which I don't fully understand, but you got to give him his flowers. Him, McRae, Garcia, they won the midfield matchup. Despite losing the game, we won that midfield matchup, and they have an extremely talented set of mids.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. This is from Jack.
Hey boys, this is Jack down from the Mornington Peninsula. My sort of statement or question for you this week is a bit of a scenario in the case of Naz. If he's the person that leaves the club, who do you think is the young gun that kind of steps up to take his sort of spot? I feel like he's become our Nick Rewalt in our early 2000s sort of team. So he's a leader of the young guns. He's the one that's showing up the most and obviously providing a lot of runs with the team and everything. So if he is to leave as that scenario, who is the other young gun that sort of steps up and sort of takes his next spot?
That's a good question. I haven't thought about that.
I mean, he's going to stay anyway, so it's irrelevant. But he won't play the role as well, but it'll be Angus Hasty will come into the side.
Hasty.
Yeah.
Or we would probably just put Trav there and give him a year.
Yeah,
and just
I wouldn't mind
fast
that
track
either.
at him and Sinks. Go for it, mate.
Yeah.
But yeah, as Ari said, Jack, I reckon we won't have that problem, mate. So
hopefully not.
Yeah. This is David.
Hi, Saints TV. Love your work.
Thanks, David.
Just wanted to raise an issue that I've found quite irritating for most of the season, and happened a bit last season as well. But Ross seems to play natural forwards on the back line, like they're interchangeable, and maybe they are, but I don't think it's a good idea. I think, if we've got back stocks, we should try playing people who are backs in the back line and forwards in the forward line. And I think Caminiti is a really prime example of that. I think he's wasted down the back, and I think he'd be helping our scoreline up forward. He seemed to deliver last year as a bit of a natural. So, yeah, and I saw that with Sharman last year, and now he's back up forward. Just think in the absence of King, we need to concentrate on putting the right people in the right places. What do you think?
I'll jump in there. I think that's a fair point, David. I know you're not alone there. Some people do still agree that Camus should play forward, but that's that's a short-sighted view. That's a short-sighted. That's in the absence of King, Caminiti should play forward. But then when King's back, then what?
Yeah.
Then we're going to be saying, damn, we should have spent that time developing him in a position that we could see him long-term, and then King forward. Right now, like even yesterday, I kind of thought we played a way that would suit King when he comes in, which I kind of like. You're training the way your best team will play, even if it's not on the park.
Yep.
And I think that's kind of what I had. I think I'm happy with Caminiti down back for that reason.
And it keeps Keeler in a forward role as well.
Yeah.
And I've really liked him up there. I think he's really sort of fitting into that full forward second ruck role quite well at the moment in the absence of King.
Kick 2 straight is one of our better set shots. I don't know if Caminiti, like if you play Caminiti forward, then David, where does Keeler go?
Yeah. And who are the backstocks that can play there
takes
anyway?
that spot?
I don't think we have anyone right now.
Yeah, you probably then play Tauru as that hammer role, but then he can't fly for everything. He's going to be too defensive at that point.
Yeah. No, I think Caminiti is honestly 10 times better as a football player in the back line than the forward.
So I agree with that. And lucky last, Chad.
Hey boys, just want to get your thoughts on Alex Tauru with how well he played yesterday, but more importantly, how well he flew for the ball. His spoils were phenomenal, but also his sticky hands were just as great. Being able to take some of the marks that he did and at the highest point. Is he a potential flip to the forward line for the back half of the season, just to, I suppose, investigate what type of player he could be in our forward line up against Max King in 2026, but also a welcome addition for Cooper Sharman in that forward line for the back half of this year. Just want to get your thoughts on where you think that could sit.
I mean, I want to see both. I want to see him in the back line and the forward line. We've got 8 games to experiment with these young players and see what position is best suited for all of them, and debut some guys. So yeah, I want to see everything.
Yeah, I think he's got all the traits to be an absolute gun at both ends.
Yeah. I think if we found a defender that could play that role, I wouldn't mind seeing him go forward. But at the moment, I feel like we need him in defence. That's the role we need him to play, because we've got, if he goes forward, does Keeler go back? He's not really like for like. I feel like we need that sort of intercept player at the moment.
Could Ari come in for a game? And, it depends on the team you play too, right? If a team only has one tall, like Freo were the exception. They had Tracy, they had Amos, they had, I'm missing a player there, Voss, who we kept quiet. And then they've got the 2 rucks.
Who both go forward. That's 5 talls there. I don't know if Hawthorn are remotely that tall. I mean, we'll talk about it because that was the last one, so thank you there, Chad. But I think he can be a superstar forward, and I see him as a forward.
Interesting.
When I watch him. I see him as doing his trade in the back half, and I think eventually he will be... I think we always say who's going to be that twin tower with King. Why can't it be him?
Yeah. I mean, I would say Mitch Owens, it feels like kind of plays the role that Tauru would play down there. I kind of see him more as a defender, but it's way too early to tell. It's 2 games in.
Exactly. Yeah,
but that's why I say I want to see both, and let's see what works. But yeah, thanks for all the junk mails and the voicemails. We can take these headphones off.
Yeah,
but,
which one was the best one?
What was his name? The guy that...
Hugh?
Hugh had the best one. I like
Hugh
that.
Boxall?
Yeah. Hugh Boxall, get him into the side.
Hawthorn.
I'm so excited for this game. I haven't been this excited for a game since Carlton this year.
Yeah.
Playing against Josh Battle, playing against the Hawks,
Yeah,
I'd just be so good to beat them.
The grudge.
And
Grudge
it feels
game.
like we're due for a win. It'd be good to see him lose. Saturday night, the Viking it's his first home game for the Saints. So.
And that's another reason why we should play him forward. He will play on Josh Battle and sit on his head.
Oh my God.
Could you imagine?
That's bums on seats. It really is.
That's the selling point of the game, Saints. Play him forward, put him on Josh Battle. He's kicking six.
That would make the year worth it to see Tauru dominate playing on Battle.
Do you know what? He's the type of player that Battle would hate to play on.
You reckon?
Because he's not there to, I guess, body. Because he's flying for everything.
True.
I think Battle loves a forward that doesn't fly, but is more that one-on-one.
Well, he took Membry down pretty well a couple of weeks ago. I think he kept him in a 1 goal. So why can't he take Josh Battle down as well?
His tackle on Tracy was impressive too, over the boundary line.
Yeah.
Completely clamped him.
There was one where...
The holding the ball he got on... Was it Bolton?
Yeah,
that was a great tackle.
There was even one... I think he might have even been trying to tackle Darcy. And clearly,
and he got him
physically, there was no chance of him winning that. And he still ended up on the ground, but man, he was going to die trying. Which you love to see. But
the Hawks, they found some mojo. Let's just go to find some of their stats from the weekend. But they play North.
They dominated.
Killed them, didn't they?
Yeah, North had no look in.
Yeah. I mean, they're a good side, but I think they're vulnerable. They've had a few losses that should have been wins for them. So I can't say I've been watching every Hawthorn game intently, but
so their main tools are Gunston.
Yeah.
Kick 7.
He's been good. He's been really good this year.
Yeah.
And Chol, which could be Wilkie or one. I guess those are the two.
Probably,
vice versa.
Yeah.
Which leaves who's the other tall? Because then we're talking Tauru. I'm just wondering who he would actually go on.
Ramsden played on the weekend. I don't know if he's playing forward or ruck more.
Ramsden, he kicked 3-1. So
honestly, I just can't stop thinking about Tauru versus Battle. That would just be the most awesome thing. Imagine as the siren goes, you just see them walk toward each other. That'd be unbelievable. What do we think Josh Battle's reception will be like from the Saints fans?
A lot of boos.
Yeah.
It's what people wanted to do to Tim Membry, but they've held it off.
We delisted him.
No,
so,
I know.
yeah.
Well, but I'm saying people still wanted to, but they knew it was wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
But this week they know it's on.
Yeah,
it's right. I'm
especially when I
very loudly
did the chat with Bassett and I asked him, is that what was the situation? And he said he confirmed. He's like, we thought he was staying up until the day before he left.
Yeah.
Do you reckon the boys get into him? Pre-game,
you'd have to
go after him a little bit.
I'm sure they're all still mates with him, but for the 2.5 hours you're playing,
he's probably playing on Owens or someone like that in our forward line. I don't think they're going to get stuck in because they haven't been there long enough to care.
No,
if whoever's playing on him kicks a goal, surely. But
you go run up to him.
I'm not trying to incite, the booing, but do it.
But there will be some animosity in the crowd. That's to be expected when a player leaves.
For sure. What else are we thinking of this game?
Well, they're one of the midfields that you look at on paper and you think, we could do something there. They're not a stacked midfield. They're a clean, when you let them play, they're a good team, but they're not. They don't have a Bont in the midfield. They have a Jai Newcomb, who's a very good player, but more a contested player that we're generally pretty good at handling.
Yeah, Ward and Mackenzie as well, 2 young guys, both been in good form this year. I think we match up on them pretty well in the midfield, considering our performance in the last couple of weeks has been pretty good through there. So I reckon it, lines up to be pretty good midfield.
Yeah. The last 3 we've played Dogs midfield, Collingwood midfield, and Freo midfield away.
Yeah.
This is the easiest midfield out of the last 4.
It's true. From our side, I just want to see that Steele and McRae continue to play well together. I don't care I don't want to see one of them have 40 touches and dominate, because we've seen that this year, and every time that's been true of one of them, the other one's done nothing. So that was one of my favourite parts of the game on Sunday. And then as well, Garcia, just keep doing what he's doing. Changes wise, we've sort of already talked about it, but I wouldn't expect any. I haven't gone through it yet, but I would expect maybe Boxall takes Carroll's spot as the sub, which is unlucky because he didn't get to play, but his form has just been so impressive in the VFL back to back weeks.
Does Butler keep his spot?
He's definitely vulnerable.
2 weeks in a row, I think he's been subbed now.
Was he subbed? I think that was the week before.
No, he was subbed against Collingwood. Yeah, I think.
Oh, he was. Okay, yeah.
definitely against the Dogs.
So 3 weeks in a row, you reckon he's been subbed?
Well, he was subbed early in the Dogs.
I'm pretty sure
game.
2 out of
It was
4.
after his
I'm pretty sure
four.
2 out of 4 he's been subbed.
Yeah.
I mean, Jones was, at least stats-wise, I didn't watch the game, but pretty impressive for Sandy. Wouldn't expect him to come in, though. I think... And also, shout out to Paddy Dow. We didn't mention it last week.
Yes,
but
second game
he's had
back.
And insane journey with his injury, spending nights in hospital, everything like that. Played last week, but like on very limited minutes. Came back this week, had 21 touches, a couple of shots on goal, a few tackles. Like, great to see him up and running. I want him to play next year. I want to see him get some AFL games. But yeah, Ari, like Collard, didn't kick a goal, but had a few looks at it. Max Heath kicked 2, Dodson kicked 4, Ari kicked 3.
Yeah, there's options there.
Yeah.
There's options there. And they don't have James Sicily.
No.
Yep.
Which, generally speaking,
kills us,
he is... What was the game where he had like 40 and 19 marks
Just
or
kick it
something
to
like
him.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
We just kick it to him. They don't really have that. Like, they've got obviously
Well, I mean, they
Battle
probably
and
want
Barras
Battle to be that, yeah.
and Barras, but I think Sicily's way more damaging than them by foot. So
Well,
he hurts you more.
I think for the most part we've been relatively good at this, but let's not go back to, games against Port where Aaliyah would take 20 marks, Sicily would take 20. Let's not let Battle and Barras dominate like that, and just keep that ball movement going inside 50 clean, which it has been for the most part these last few weeks. But yeah, who are we looking out for on our side or theirs going into it, outside of the obvious ones?
I mean, Watson's always getting under people's skin, so that's one that Stocker will love to bury in the ground, I would have thought. Yeah?
That is true.
I'm not being... I think that's just footy terms, right? You just want to...
No, for sure. I just love Stocks.
Yeah.
He's got that spirit about him.
I think Machito's due a big one. It's been a while. I think he kicked 3 or 4 early in the year, and he's kind of gone quiet a little bit since then. I reckon he's really... he really needs to get back into form because he's not someone that we're going to drop at all, I don't think. But, he just needs a bit of a confidence boost.
I think he just needs to take his chances.
Yeah.
Like, he gets loads of looks at it. And sort of like with Max Hall, the way you say, I wasn't surprised to see that. I would not be surprised one bit to see Mitch kick 5 goals.
No.
Just because he works so hard and it feels like he's building into a strong game. Whether that's this week or not, we'll see. But
it's the player who isn't on Battle or Barras that needs to work.
Yeah.
So, like, if it's Sharm and Owens on those two, Keeler or whoever's down there needs to then really amp it up and create that mismatch.
Yeah.
That's why I think having a Dodson or Heath in this week for a row to go in to the forward line stretches them even more.
So
because they've got Meek, and that's it, right? I think they play the one ruck.
Meek.
Yeah, I think Ramsden will be playing second ruck.
Yeah, so I think that's an inexperienced second ruck that offers that flexibility where you could bring in a young ruck, give them a game, and then stretch them going the other way.
Yeah.
So
for sure. Anything else we want to touch on before we wrap it up here?
No, I'm just. It's been a good two. Like when you think about it, we played Melbourne, we got the win, had the bye, disappointing against the Dogs, but since then, the club's kind of done what all the fans, at least in the comments, have wanted: play the kids, play a better brand of football. We haven't got the wins, but you take the last 2 weeks over the Dogs game any day. So we want to win, but at the same time, we're developing into something beyond this year.
Yeah.
It's the most excited I've been to go to the footy in a few weeks. I reckon.
That's a great call. I share that
100%.
sentiment. I'm pumped for Saturday night. I can't wait. I think we can win too, genuinely.
Yeah. No, 100%. Last thing.
Yep.
So Brad Hill was out with the illness. We know how much Ross loves him. Obviously, we probably think he shouldn't come back in because the spots are there, but yes or no, does he come back in?
Only as a sub.
As a sub. Okay.
I'm going to say no. I'm a big Brad Hill fan, but I think we've got to stick with last week.
I want us not to,
Yeah.
but if he does, only as the sub.
Yeah.
He can't start.
I'd say this is not what I want, just what I think will happen. I think he's going to come back in
For who?
and people are going
Jack
to blow
Carroll?
up about it. Anyone. Yeah.
Carroll
Carroll
with
or
like 10
Butler.
minutes to go.
Most likely.
He didn't
I just think Ross is probably going to bring him back in. But we'll see. Anyways.
I'm almost on Ollie's train here. I reckon he's not coming in.
I think that's the right move.
Either
but,
way, I think, as long as the team is the team and we put out a good performance, I think we'll all be happy. But he had a week off, didn't play VFL. I think prioritise VFL performances first, see if that can be manoeuvred and brought in. And if then there's nothing there, then you make the call.
Agreed.
But
Hope that happens. But yeah, Saints fans, get down. I mean, this is the most exciting footy we've played for a while, and I feel like since the Carlton game, there hasn't been much hype around us. But
what's our next month? Quietly, let me check because I think we're
Sydney
starting to get some games at Marvel again.
we've
So
got a long
Hawthorn,
home stretch.
Sydney,
Yeah.
Geelong in Geelong, Melbourne at Marvel, North, Richmond at the G, and then Essendon Marvel, and then Giants in Sydney.
Not a bad run home.
It's a good run home.
Yeah.
So we only play away one more time.
Against Geelong.
I mean, like interstate.
And then
Wow.
GWS at the end, yeah.
So the last interstate game is, last game of the round of the year. Okay.
Cool.
We've got a stretch there to do something.
Yeah, for sure.
Get down. It's going to be exciting.
Watch
Make
us
some
put on a
noise.
clinic in the last 7 weeks.
And get loud. These games are too quiet when the crowd's not as big. Even if it's a small crowd, just be loud.
Agreed.
We can definitely outnumber the Hawthorn fans.
For sure.
We
for
can
sure.
do it. Yeah.
Come to Marvel. They wouldn't want to come to Marvel, would they?
Too far.
Yeah, true.
All right. Go the Mighty Saints. Talk
Yep.
next week.
See you next week, guys. Go Saints.
Go Saints.